This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors.
I don't know what's more shocking, the fact that this guy's about to pull up the smoothest robbery of the year, or the fact that he's robbing his followers straight in the eye while rocking a bust-down Rolex. This specific clip of a pastor demanding $40K from his followers is going viral on the internet as it's gaining a lot of traction and sparking a bit of outrage. And for very good reason, people aren't holding back on their reactions.
Marvin Sapp, as soon as you would have said, lock that door, I need 40,000, I would have punched you everywhere up under your feet, grabbed that mic and told him, open that door. I can't even see how y'all still be going to these clown churches. And that's why your stupid ass end up in debt every year after you gave your 110% to the church.
Now, I wouldn't say that I was immediately triggered upon watching the video, but I definitely wanted to find out who this guy was because I'd never heard of him a day in my life. So this audacious person in question is Marvin Sapp. He's a popular gospel singer and he's also a pastor at a really big church, which makes perfect sense because when you look at one of his pictures, it screams, my life revolves around a mega church. And if you know anything about modern mega churches, they don't really set the greatest examples. But this clip did lead me back to a reoccurring question that I've had for a while. Why are we beginning to notice a major absence of religion in our society? And although that question doesn't have a straightforward answer, I think it's safe to say that people like this contribute to a tremendous part of that decline. And nowadays, I've noticed more and more that the societal state of our world gives a totally different approach to religion than it would have 20 years ago. Growing up as a child, I remember the conversation of Christianity between two people being a lot easier than it is today. Bro, starting up a conversation about Christianity today is like planting a C4 explosive in your house. That conversation is a complete disaster waiting to happen, because while you might be passionate about Christianity as a whole, the next guy is probably really ambivalent about it or just does not care. And wherever you might stand on that point, you've got to agree that this is straight up highway robbery.
I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors.
This is an articulate robbery in broad daylight, because there's no way this was not premeditated. I just know that bro woke up happy as hell that Sunday morning knowing he was going to tax his followers $40K. Imagine waking up on that Sunday, first day of the week, to hear the word of God, and then you find out you're about to help front up $40K to your pastor, who's by the way rocking a bust down Rolex. I really don't think he understands the irony of what he's asking his followers to do. Like, $40K? What are you trying to buy, a BMW before dinner? Bro's over here forcing his followers to contribute $40K by barricading them into the church. I'm not gonna lie, this guy would not get a single dime out of me. I'm hitting them ushers with the meanest routes known to man. And if them ushers decide to be stubborn, I got a one-way ticket to heaven I know they're gonna like.
Sweet cheese in your snitching ass, twin.
If we're to seriously look at the gravity of this guy's actions, this goes against every moral principle of someone that should be preaching. Even if you were to argue this on a biblical term, the Bible clearly preaches against forcing an offering out of people, because the whole point of the offering process as a part of Christianity is for people to cheerfully offer what they have, and no other human being has the authority to set a prerequisite of what is an acceptable offering for any individual person. But we all know this guy already knows that. Don't worry, bro, we recognize your game. Nowadays, more and more people are starting to come up with the general conclusion that pastors are just everyday scammers in suits. Now, as a fellow Christian myself, I can't say I agree with that generalization, but I can't say that thought process makes perfect sense. Who's to blame anybody who thinks that way? These modern pastors nowadays have forgotten the fundamental rules of the religion itself and have started to use the whole religion as an exploitation of their own monetary gain. These pastors could have a whole congregation of followers barely keeping up with their lives, living paycheck to paycheck, barely meeting up with their bills, while these pastors chill in the most grandiose mansions you've ever seen, not having to work a day in their lives. And these same people are the same people that look you dead in the eye and say, it's just God's will.
I expect to make money every day, and I do. It's coming to me. It's on me. Don't get mad at me. It ain't my fault. I bet people say, I'll tell you one thing. I don't understand. How can you can buy something? Man, one of my chandeliers costs more than most people's house. I got 22 chandeliers in the house. I live in the biggest house in the state of Louisiana. Biggest house of any preacher in America. You want to know how big it is? 40,000 square foot.
Now, I don't know about you, but if a pastor ever flexed on me with the wealth I know he built by stealing from me every Sunday, I'd call him a scammer too. And if you think this is crazy, there's literally another pastor that justifies having a multi-million-dollar private jet, arguing that it'd be impossible for him to preach the word of God without riding in a private jet.
Why have you said that you won't fly commercial? You said that it's like getting into a tube with a bunch of demons. Why do you think that?
No, listen to me just a second.
Of course.
not the people. The main reason is because of the need. If I flew commercial, I'd have to stop 65% of what I'm doing. It takes a lot of money to do what we do.
These pastors are completely out of touch with reality. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you have to be a broke person to be a pastor, but when you see pastors demanding a certain amount from their followers, or even pastors who have multi-million-dollar homes as a tax write-off to religion, that should raise a considerable amount of questions for a regular person. And that brings me to my final point. I think it's outrageous that someone could pull off something like this and get away with it completely, because there are people who simply allowed him to. I'm actually really surprised that no other videos surfaced about people throwing hands with the ushers. But if we're to honestly break down the whole situation, his actions not only highlight the greed of modern pastors today, his actions also highlight the severe problem of people following things blindly rather than thinking for themselves. And you can't necessarily blame that on the religion more than you could blame the people who allowed themselves to be like this. Because an unhealthy amount of devotion into someone and the belief of whatever they say stretches far beyond religion. And I could list 3 examples off the top of my head, like modern day goofy financial gurus, corny alpha male bros, and even certain political figures.
Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump, please save me. Please save me, Donald Trump, please. Please get these people away from me. In dear God's name, please stop these people.
The dangers behind devoting your beliefs and actions towards one person's command is the same reason why a pastor can make 40K in 3 hours. People have agendas, and these agendas change over time. So accepting these pastors' words and believing everything they say as divine will is really stupid. And behaviors like this, if taken advantage by a really terrible person, is the perfect foundation for a cult. And if you have any knowledge of any Christian cults in the past, not very good comes out of any of those. Now, I'm not accusing Marvin Sapp of being a cult leader or anything, but I'm rather highlighting the huge problem behind the mindset that a lot of Christians have in thinking that a pastor is equivalent to God himself. Nevertheless, the actions of this man are undeniably fraudulent, and it paints Christianity in a very, very bad light. Nobody should be forced to give an offering, and no pastor should ever feel entitled to anybody's money at the level where they have to lock their followers in to get money out of them. Such actions are distasteful, and it does nothing but drive people away. Anyways, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I'd like to hear your comments down below on this topic, and be sure to sub for more content like this.